So hello, and welcome to our parenting clinic all about behaviour. My name is Anissa Lewis, and I am passionate about helping busy parents to raise happy and confident children no matter what is going on for you and your family. Some people are here because they've got a blip in the road that they want some help with. Other people are just here to fill up their parenting toolkits. Whatever your reasoning, absolutely, you are most welcome, and I'm so pleased you're here. And again, thank you to those people who are here from schools and are passing on their information to staff and to parents and carers, and likewise to our corporate colleagues who have joined us today as well. It is great to have you here. So my background, for those of you who don't know me, is education and teaching. I was a deputy head of operations for quite an exclusive private school down in Surrey. And I just decided that my daughter was being raised at my desk and that there was only so far I could go in helping the children and the families within my care. And pastoral stuff was very much my agenda and what I was doing in my role, which was very exciting. So I basically resigned, moved my family to West Yorkshire from Surrey, and retrained, did some coaching, did some NLP, did some lots of other bits and pieces to make me qualified for doing what I'm doing now, on top of just life experience. And I think that's what I bring to the work that I do. I bring life experience. Pretty much everything that I talk about, I've either tried with families, tried with my own child. So it is a tried and tested method. I do have a 17-year-old. She's just turned 17 a week ago. So yeah, I have a 17-year-old now, who is currently, if I look at the clock, should be going into a business exam for her A-levels. So that will be exciting. Has she done enough study? No, she hasn't. Has I tried to influence it? Yes, I have. Did it go well? No, it didn't. So I've just stepped back from that one, and she's going to blaze her own trail in whatever happens for her. I think for many of the families on the calls who might have neurodiverse children, it's important for you to know that my daughter got an autism diagnosis about a year ago, maybe a bit longer actually. And so we are navigating that. Lots of bumps in the road for us, mostly around food at the moment. So that's an interesting one. But you're not here to hear about my mothering journey, although that will come out through the process of the talk. We're here to talk about behavior and how we can help our children navigate these big behaviors that they're experiencing, or even just the little rumblings of behavior. Next month's clinic is all about emotions, and there is quite a lot of crossover between them. So I hope, if you're not already signed up, that you might want to join me next month as well. But I want us to have a think about behavior is communication. So what is the behavior that your children might be presenting, trying to communicate? Because it's never about the length of their skirt, or it's never about the blue cup over the pink cup. There is always something else that is going on. So I like to have a think about curiosity. So that is the tip of the iceberg. The behavior they're seeing, with the meltdowns, the shouting back, the physical outlets of the behavior. What else behavior-wise? Tell me in the chat box, actually. Obviously, if you're listening on the replay, you can't tell me in the chat box, but I do welcome you communicating with me afterwards, should you want to, and quite a lot of people do. So I really do put out the invitation. Ping me an email and let me know at hello@anissalewis.com. What do you think the behavior is communicating in your house? So in the chat box, if you feel comfortable sharing, let me know what behaviors you're seeing at the moment with your children. Perhaps it's when they're tired, perhaps it's when they're a bit overwhelmed or overstimulated. If I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say this as it's come into my mind, there is a lovely little acronym, HALT. So it's when your children are displaying these really big behaviors and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm either being triggered at this moment, or what is going on? I'm trying to put on my curiosity radar and I'm trying to work out what's going on for them. But it's this HALT concept. So are they hungry? Are they angry? So angry, I would put emotions in there, but obviously it doesn't quite work with the very nice HALT analogy. Are they lonely? Now, lonely can be an interesting one because they can be in the heart of the family, or they can have friends around them, or they can have all of this stuff, but actually they still feel quite alone. And then the last one is tired. So HALT is, are your children hungry? Are your children emotional or angry? Are they lonely? or are they tired? And that's a little bit of a quick checklist that you can run through when you're seeing these big behaviors in front of you. So we've got behaviors that are happening right now for you at home with your children is crying for help but not sure how to cope, lashing out, anger, not listening, copying but in a nasty way, defiance and repeatedly not listening. Oh, I'm going to mention listening, so maybe now is a good time to mention listening. Frustration when the plan changes, something goes wrong, lashing out, answering back, not listening. 2-year-old not wanting to get in her car seat. Oh my goodness me, I remember those days. And then the tween years with big emotions. Yeah, there are lots of things going on for our kids. And I think before I delve into listening, which is something that is a really interesting thing to look at when we're looking at the behavior of our children, is I would be remiss if I didn't just acknowledge where your children might be developmentally. So there are lots of things with our kids that we expect them to be little versions of us, little adults in this world, navigating things and having the brain development to be able to link ideas and think about consequences. That's just not going to happen. So actually, is your child a toddler? Are they the 2-year-old not wanting to get into their car seat because they feel that they're being trapped, or because they want to control a situation, because they're being independent? Me do it, me do it, me do it. Oh gosh, those days. I was an infant teacher, nursery and preschool teacher for a couple of years as well. So I remember those days fondly. In fact, 3-year-olds are some of my favorite people on the earth. But are they at that stage where they're really fighting for independence? Have they hit the tween years where the hormones are coming out, and they really need you because they're not big yet, but then they don't need you because they want to be independent and they want to be doing things that actually they're just not developmentally capable of or comprehending right now. Then we've got our tween years where it's all about the friends and they forget about us parents. And we watch their dust as they go out. Is it the tween years where that part of the brain of consequences actually isn't fully developed? And so that they're doing things and they're seizing moments, and you're thinking, they haven't thought of the consequences for this situation. Oh my days, what on earth is going to happen? They actually developmentally don't have it. Then we can throw in neurodiversity as well, which brings with a whole spectrum. So I can't dive into that deeply, but that is something that we do need to consider when we are looking at where our children are developmentally. Are we expecting too much? Are we expecting too little of them? Are we still doing things for our children which actually they're fully capable of doing themselves? An example I give in my family is my daughter does her own washing. Now, this came about, sorry, husbands out there in the group, because my husband didn't like the way I folded his laundry. And so we concluded, without getting divorced, that actually it was probably just better for him to do his own laundry. But actually what came of it is we all just took on responsibility for our own laundry. And that has been in place since my child was probably about 8 or 9. Now, don't get me wrong, I do her laundry and I do include her in things, and she's not completely independent, but that is a prime example of something that a child could do for themselves that potentially we keep doing. It might not work for every family. I put my hand up, and that is okay. The other thing I'll put in with the developmental thing is, are your children overstimulated? Our world at the moment has a lot of input coming into them. So not only do we have screens, we have noises, we have smells, we have the different feel of things as well. And actually sometimes overstimulation can cause issues with a child's behavior. Now, people also added, so not focusing was something else somebody's added, and kicking and going stiff. That's an interesting one. So hopefully there is going to be some ideas that will come through that you can take on board, and you can either try or you can put into your parent toolkit and bring out for another occasion. What I will say to you is that if you go away and think, oh, I've just listened to a really interesting talk by some lady called Anissa, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to try 7 different things with my child tonight to try and improve their behavior, the chances are it won't stick. And the chances are you'll either forget something, not do something, start something, stop midway through and think, oh my goodness, it's not working. So I really encourage you to take as many notes as you like to be inspired, but actually when you come to commit at the end, I'm going to get you to commit to one thing that was really interesting for you today and one thing you're going to take forward. Because if you can be consistent with that, you will bring about change for your child. You will bring about change for yourself. That then becomes part of what you do, and then you can add in the next thing. It's not about ignoring all of the behaviors that are going on, but it's saying, actually, I can let that go for the moment because this is more important that I get on top of them physically lashing out than it is that I get on top of them answering me back for what or whatever. You know, only you can make that decision for you and your family. But pick one thing and be consistent. What I would also say is when your children are experiencing these big emotions, they are not in their thinking brain. They're in their primitive brain, which is down here at the bottom of the brain, the neck, going into the brain stem. And that is responsible for survival. That's the fight, flight, or freeze response. So thinking about your children when they get their big behaviors coming out, whether it's the lashing, whether it's the answering back. Sorry, that was very Australian the way I said that. Whatever it is, think about what part of their brain are they functioning from? Are they in fight mode in that primitive brain, that red mist? Are they in flight? Do they go quiet? Do they retract? Do they withdraw? Sorry, that's freeze. Or flight, do they just take off? So I've worked with a lot of families who have runners. Their kids are runners. When something becomes too big for them, they run. And they've had to become Olympic runners to keep up with them, to keep their children safe. So have a think about that and put into the chat box for me. Are your children fighters? Do they flight? Do they run? Or are they freeze? Does everything stop and they try and make it go away? And I guess what's interesting here is part of your role as the parent is what is your default when you get into primitive brain? When you are being triggered by your children, by you are being triggered by the world around you, what is your default behavior? Are you a fighter? Are you a flight? Or do you freeze? So think about that. Okay, we've got lots of fighters on this call. So, and that actually would make sense in the fact that you're here and these are because it's the behavior that is showing up for you. On the fact of you being triggered, I want to just mention you as a role model for your children. So if your default is to shout, if your default is to potentially criticize, if your default is to be very overwhelmed by the behaviors that you are seeing, you are role modeling in a certain way to your children how to respond to things that challenge them. Now, it's really difficult as a parent to be untriggered, and it's really difficult as a parent to sort of navigate some of these waters because sometimes you're exhausted. Sometimes you don't have enough brain space left at the end of the day when it's hitting off again and you're in the next cycle. So what I encourage you to do, and this is counterintuitive as a parent, is to put yourself first. The airlines have got it right. You have to fit your own oxygen mask first. And it's lovely to go away for a big spa day or to plan a hike or whatever it is that works for you. But actually, what I'm talking about here with these more self-care moments is these 5-minute micro moments where you can actually drink your cup of coffee hot. Or when you can just take a really deep breath and maybe look out of the window and see a scenery that lights you up. So those are the things that I'm trying to get you to take notice of, because actually if you are functioning better, if you can parent from a different place, which means your reactions are going to be different, which means your patient levels are going to be higher, in order that you can think, oh, I've just listened to that interesting talk by Anissa and I know what I'm going to try right now. So just think about that. Also think about, in terms of the role modeling, is what are you bringing from your childhood on how you were parented? Are you wanting to break cycles, or are you happy with the way you were parented and you're now happy to bring that into your parenting now? Think about that. Think about the type of parent you are. Are you a helicopter parent because you like control, or because your children need something extra from you, so you flit around? Or are you so laid back that you're horizontal, that your children actually rule the roost? Children thrive on boundaries, and actually it doesn't matter where your boundaries are or how skinny or how wide they are. Do your children know what they are? So these are things that I want you more to probably go away and reflect on. Okay. So let's swing back to listening, which was something that was brought up quite a lot in the chat box. And listening is, I want you to think about, how do you listen? Do you listen to understand what's going on? Do you listen to put the fire out of what's being presented in front of you? Do you listen with already thinking about what you're going to say to your child in the next moment? Or are you really listening to try and be curious, putting up that radar of curiosity? So I love the quote by Walt Whitman, which is to be curious, not judgmental. And that very much comes into our listening. I think I'm a big person who's always thinking about something else in my head when my child is talking to me. In fact, she said to me the other day, she goes, "You've got a different yes for when you're listening and when you're not listening." And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because she knows, she's got it. And some of our children's behavior is around attention and what they can do to get your attention. Because if they slap their brother or sister, they know you're going to swoop in. And obviously we want them to get the attention because we've been loving and they've been kind and all the rest of it. They don't really mind. They just want the attention. So be really mindful of what you're feeding within your children. So how do you listen? That's the first thing. The other thing is that I work with many parents who are very happy to repeat the same instruction over and over and over and over again until their children do it. And every time you repeat the instruction of what you're asking, you get more and more cross, and your children get more and more like, well, they'll just keep repeating it until I do it, so I'll just keep going with ignoring what's going on. So that's a really interesting one. So let me know in the chat box, are you just say repeater or repeat, and I'll know that you like to repeat instructions, or maybe you're not, and that's absolutely okay. But what I will say to you is that the more you repeat the instructions, the more we're teaching our children that they don't need to listen until you lose your mind because you've shouted and because you're so frustrated and cross, or they don't need to listen until you've repeated it 12,000 times, because they know you're going to repeat it. So when I was in the classroom dealing with 30 children, or whether I'm working with the kids in my clinic, or whether it's my own children and my nieces and my nephews and my friends' kids, we have a thing in our house called first time listening. And it's something we've had to practice, and it's something we've had to bring a lot of humor to the situation about. But I generally only repeat instructions once. And I go, but I set people up for success. So I'm going to ask you to do something. Are you looking at me? Now, that one with neurodivergent children, I'm not so pernickety about, but they have to in some way show me with their body language that they're tuning into what I'm saying. I will generally use the name of the child to which I need them to do it. Where is practical and feasible, I'm in the same room as the child that I want to do the act or the thing that I've asked, because yelling up and downstairs means that no one needs to own that repetition or that instruction because they're not there. So there are elements of setting your children up for success. And I will joke, oh my goodness me, I've got to third time listening. That's not what we do in our house, for example. So you can bring humor to it. But I really encourage you to only repeat an instruction once. And then natural or logical consequences come into place. My daughter's name's B. So B, put on your shoes, please. What have you been asked to do? I've been asked to put on my shoes. Great. You go off and do what you've got to do. You come back, the shoes are still not on. At this point, you pick up the shoes and you walk out of the door. Come on, we're going to the car. That is a natural consequence. The chances are they will put their shoes on potentially when you get to the car. We're not about trying to help our children fail in any way or to show them up or to embarrass them. So we're giving them opportunities along the way to put their shoes on. But a natural consequence is that they follow up on it. Chasing children about homework. Schools will have systems in place for children who don't do homework. Is it worth losing the relationship with your child by constantly nagging at them, shouting at them because they don't want to do it, where actually the school could step in and help you out and help you with your parenting of your child in that situation? So have a think about listening linked to natural or logical consequences. I don't know if that's resonated with some of you. If it has, maybe give me an emoji of some sort. If it's not resonated, Give me an emoji that shows me that it's not resonated as well. I'd love to know what's going on for you right now. So I've hinted on attention. Our kids will do anything to get our attention. And so with the behavior, is the behavior you're being seeing to get your attention? Is the behavior that you respond to why it keeps repeating? Again, only you can answer that question. I don't know because I'm not working with you one-on-one. So have a think about that. Have a think about what you are feeding and what you're giving attention to. But also have a think about your mind. Your mind is an amazing organ in your body, but it likes to prove you right. So if you are looking for moments where your children are being little pickled onions and very itchy and scratchy, it will find it and it will be going, look what I'm doing. I'm being so helpful. Look, your child is doing this and your child is doing that. However, if you say to your brain, I want to look for the good in my kids, your brain will show you it. But then the next step here is to praise them. Wow, I can see that was really difficult for you. Well done for having a go. And your child's thinking, well, she's never praised me for that before. That's a bit weird. And then they're having an absolute strop about going to bed, and you say to them, I know this is really difficult for you. I understand. I can see that you're quite frustrated with being asked to go to bed. But just want to thank you for looking in the direction of your bedroom, which shows me that I think you're thinking about going to bed. And again, your children are going, why on earth is she praising me for this? But a different part of their brain is being activated, and a different part of your brain is being activated, hopefully keeping things calm. Praise is a really underutilized tool in parenting. Some children don't respond to praise, and I absolutely get that. Words of affirmation is not their thing. You might have to give some backhanded praise. You might have to give praise to your partner about your child so that they can overhear it. There are creative ways we can do it, but praise, 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 and praise some more. I talked about words of affirmation, so I'm just going to waft these books in front of you. I'm not going to talk in any great detail about them, but it is well worth outlining or trying to find out what your child's love language is. So this, oh no, I can't do it, can't coordinate myself. One of them is for children, one of them is for teenagers. And there is a quiz you can do. In the email that I'm going to send you out, I'm sending you it, but if you are listening to this on YouTube or some other channel, then you can just do love languages quiz to ascertain how your child likes to receive love. Because if we can connect with our children more on a way that resonates with them, then they are going to respond better. And we're going to step in 3 or 4 steps before the behavior occurs to hopefully so that it doesn't actually happen. That's the thought process. So the 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. I take gifts with a bit of a pinch of salt because who doesn't like getting a present? It usually works in tandem with one of the others. But for example, in my family, physical touch is my husband's and my child's first love language. If I was to rate them in order, it would be number 5 for me. But I know when I hug my child, when I touch her arm while I'm talking to her, while I give her a bit of a shoulder massage, if I help her straighten her hair, she responds a lot better when I ask her to do other things. So it's interesting. Sorry, someone's just asked, does the praise logic work at most ages? Yes, because we tend to praise teenagers and tweens less than we'll praise little ones, because little ones, we're very much about, wow, gosh, you took a big deep breath and you had lots of courage and you sat in your car seat when I know you didn't want to. That is awesome. Whereas with the older ones, we're like, we're not praising them for sitting down in the car. So yes, I would say absolutely and completely it does work at many, many ages. Just using it, be genuine with how you're praising and go with that. Okay, not that I'm asking you to air your dirty laundry, but again, in the chat box, just let me know if shouting is your default as a behavior. Maybe just put a thumbs up or a yes, that's me, or whatever it is. So we tend to have defaults as behavior. Now, I am a lecturer. I like to give a good lecture. I like to tell my child everything that I know and fill her toolkit with all of these tools that she needs to know. And at the end of the day, she says to me, Mum, sometimes I just need you to listen. And sometimes I need you to problem solve with me. And sometimes I need you to give me advice. And so it's really interesting their take on it. So that's my default. I am not a shouter. I cannot tell you the last time I shouted. It's just not part of who I am. But if you are a shouter, there is no judgment here. But all that's happening is you end up escalating the situation, and then you're all on the ceiling because the noise level, the overstimulation, everything is going up. So I encourage you, first of all, to take a really deep breath before you make a decision about how you're going to respond to your children. So let's just do it in through our nose. And then as you breathe out, you're going to count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then when you get to 1, you can make a decision whether shouting is what you're going to do or you're going to try something else. But it is a conscious decision then, not a default behavior. The other thing I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to whisper. So with whispering, you come in under the behavior rather than on top of the behavior. And if nothing else, it means your children go, she reacted a bit differently, or he reacted a bit differently to what he normally does. What's going on here? Sometimes that pause is enough for you to get in and go, thank you for stopping what you're doing. Let's just take a breath. Let's regroup and let's come back and have a conversation about what's just happened, for example. So I think that is a very quick win for the shouting stuff. The other thing I would say is when your children are experiencing these big emotions, they're back in that primitive brain, trying to sort and rationalize with them when they're in that red mist is not going to work. You need something that calms their nervous system back down again, whether that is physical movement. Physical movement is really good for moving energy. If it's safe to do so, get them to run up and down the stairs, send them outside on the trampoline, take them out for a walk, get them on a bicycle. If you've got a wobble cushion, my wobble cushion is over there, so I'm not going to go and grab it, but get them standing on a wobble cushion. It's one of those cushions with bumps on. It's like a Pilates or a yoga cushion. That movement is good. So I would encourage you to do something with your child that moves their energetic state. So you are not dealing with a primitive brain child. You want to be dealing with a thinking brain. And when everybody is calmed down, that's when you can say to your children with some lovely open-ended questions, what just happened then? How could we do that differently next time? How in that moment were you showing respect to yourself, to me? What could we do differently next time? What do you need from me to help you in these moments when behaviors are really big? So that, I think, oh my goodness me, it's already 1 o'clock. Gosh, I say this every time. I could literally talk about this for hours. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. I'm going to stop the conversation there. But in the chat box, can you just let me know something that's resonated with you today, something that you're taking away, something that you think, wow, maybe I knew it, but I needed the reminder. Likewise, if you're listening into the replay, ping me an email at hello@anisalewis.com and let me know what your takeaway was from today. While you are writing in the chat box, I'm going to let you know that I say next month, the clinic is all about emotions. I want to say it's the 8th of July. I think that's right. So you're very welcome to come along to that if you would like. I am working through the summer this year. Don't normally work through the summer, so I am working through the summer. So if there is something that I can help you with on a one-to-one basis, please do reach out. My coaching clinic for children is pretty much full at the moment. I think I've got like 1 space left. So that's interesting. So anyway, if I can help in any way, please do reach out and we can set up a quick chat. Okay, let's see what some of these takeaways were. So we've got listening and how to be curious and not judgmental, that halt analogy, which I used at the beginning. The deep breath reminder was important for someone. Whispering when they're on the ceiling. Yeah, absolutely. Not repeating. Needed the reminder of halt and definitely going to try to repeat the instructions once. What I would say for that, if you are a natural repeater, you're going to have to introduce the concept of first time listening, maybe chatting over dinner when everything's calm, maybe making it a bit fun by doing some role play and going, oh, let's practice not listening to daddy, and let's practice listening to daddy, and trying some role play, because actually it's going to be strange for your children, and then they're just going to go, well, you've just been listening to Anisa again, and what are you bringing into our house? So just think about that as you're introducing a new concept. So we've got not repeating, behavior is communication and how to reflect after. whispering and taking a breath, counting back and not repeating, first time listening and not repeating. So it sounds like we've had quite a lot of takeaways from today. So thank you so much. I am running 2 minutes over, which I can only apologize for, but thank you so much for your time. Stay safe. Enjoy experimenting with some of these things. And I very much look forward to our paths crossing again in the not too distant future.